I have nothing prepared, nothing to show, but I do have something to say, which is that everybody in this room can pat yourself on the back for being involved in what will become the fastest growing industry in the UK, CBD. Why do I say that? Because I know it from the past 5 years in my time in the trenches of cannabis or THC infused products, sort of across the board. In the past year, what I've noticed happening is this trend towards CBD usage. The great thing about CBD, as everybody knows, is that it's pretty much legal around the world. So as my friend mentioned, I've spoken at a lot of conferences, pretty much THC focused in the States. Everybody knows me there. They know me largely for a platform that we've developed in conjunction with another technology company that's based in Massachusetts in the US. So there's a huge problem in America. It involves both THC and involves CBD as well. And that concept is called misdosing. And it very much affects or negatively impacts the production of CBD edibles or THC infused edibles. So when I told, for instance, my friends, lawyers, doctors, and Indian chiefs in 2016 that I was getting involved in the edible space, every single one of them said, "Oh my God, I just did edibles this past week and I got so messed up. Fortunately, I was home and I could sleep it off." Terrible experience. That's not one or two people. That's every single person that I personally know. So as my friend said, I've also been involved in technology for way too long. Starting in the 80s, a guy named Steve Jobs was my client. And I helped him launch his product called Next Computers. You're too young to remember that. But it was actually, so he got fired from Apple, started Next Computers, created a Unix-based operating system that still powers all Apple products. Certainly their laptops and desktop products. So I went from there into digital advertising and marketing and ad tech. So I seem to be following a trend, which is sort of a technology focus, but technologies that solve real problems in the marketplace. The realest problem that we have in CBD, in THC, is this concept of misdosing. So one of our senior advisors teaches at a university in America called Brown. It's an Ivy League school. It's a great school. After she got done sort of giving her class, a couple of kids walked up to her and said, "Hey, can we tell you about our 3D printing device that we're creating and building for the medical and pharmacological development of customized medicines that are precisely dosed?" So she heard their story and obviously met with them. She called me minutes later to say, "Hey, I'm talking to these kids. They developed this hardware software solution that's going to eliminate misdosing problems." And so I literally got on a train. I live in New York City. I got on a train and went up there and met with them the following day. Very smart guys, developed this really cool platform. You're welcome to come see it. We're a company called Wellacy. We're in the back there. We've got a large booth. The system is there on display, but it's designed to solve that very real problem. So it's very exciting for us to be doing this, solving that problem, and also being able to provide our customers with the ability to create custom medicines and customize dosing of edibles. Also very important. So I mentioned the fact that I speak at a lot of conferences, and they've been mostly THC based. So this past December, I spoke at a pretty fancy conference that was pretty small. It had about 60 people in the audience, but every single person in that audience was like, has anybody heard of a brand in America called Willie's Reserve? So Willie Nelson has a brand called Willie's Reserve. There's another company called MedMen. They consider themselves the Apple Store of dispensaries, and they have multiple units across the country. Everybody there was an owner, an entrepreneur, a cultivator, an extractor of CBD or THC. But I wanted to be provocative for this particular panel discussion that I was on. So they let me name the title of the conference or the title of the panel discussion. So I decided to call it CBD, the fastest growing industry since cannabis, because I knew that would sort of piss everybody off. How can he claim that? We're all doing THC here. Not only that, they put me on this panel discussion for an hour and a half. I didn't think I had an hour and a half in me, and so I expected to sort of be self-excused or people would boo me off the stage. It went on for 3 hours because everybody in that room that's producing, growing flower, concentrates, capsules, edibles, you name it, wanted to talk about CBD. So guess what? Everybody in this room is ahead of the curve or exactly at the involved in the curve as it's unfolding here in the UK. It is going to be huge. I'm very impressed with the exhibitors here, ourselves, the size, the energy. That's what's really great about this particular conference. There's a lot of energy here. Everybody in this room knows that they are involved or going to be involved in an industry that's not only going to be big, it's actually going to help people with their particular maladies or opportunities. I take CBD. I have back issues, right? I've had 3 back surgeries. I don't respond well to THC. I don't smoke it. It has a negative impact on me, just basically. You know, I have a friend that vapes every night with THC. And so the other night we were together, we were watching a Netflix movie, and I said, oh, give me that vape. I took 1 hit, I was messed up for the entire night. I don't like it. CBD is just a different story altogether, right? It has the same sort of, kind of the same beneficial impact on my back. Doesn't get me high, which I love. So I really like that aspect of it in terms of solving issues for patients and sufferers of whatever malady. My younger son suffers from anxiety. I found him, he lives in California. I found him a great CBD product that happens to be made by a company that also makes THC products. But the owner and founder of this company is a PhD out of Stanford University. I trust him explicitly. In fact, we're running clinical trials with our 3D printer in his facility in the heart of San Francisco. So everybody in this room should pat yourselves on the back. You're involved in a really cool industry. It is going to get big. There's plenty of opportunity up and down the food chain. I don't care if you're a retailer, you're a manufacturer, you're a brand, you're a grower, you're a cultivator, you're a bottling company. I see a bond company over there. I got to go talk to them later. And I invite you to come and talk to us over at Wellacy. We make a large variety of CBD-infused products, strictly CBD-infused. We're not in the States yet. So we range across the board of product portfolio from certainly from oils to muscle salves, bath bombs, skincare, beauty products. It's pretty large. We know it's going to be important. We know because of the conversations that we're having that big retailers, as well as the independent guys, pharmacies and smaller chains of retailers, they're hearing about CBD. They're reading about it in the press. We know that. They know it. But a lot of us aren't talking to these retailers, and we should be. So if you are in the brand business or in the product development business, et cetera, just put on your walking shoes and start knocking on doors because it's opportunity time. We're taking advantage of that. We have a bunch of people on our team that are focused on that. We know there's going to be a huge opportunity. Just to give you a dimensionalize what that opportunity looks like, the estimates are that the CBD industry will be worth 22.3 billion pounds by 2022. And that 45% of that revenue will be generated out of the EU and the UK. The UK representing 45% of that 45%, right? So a lot more people here. It's one country. It's unified theoretically, and so it's a big marketplace. It's going to be contributing a lot of revenue. So I think that number is is a lot less than it's actually going to be by 2022 by a factor of 5. That's my prediction. You can take my prediction to the bank because I did it in computing and I did it in online advertising and media and e-commerce, where they were saying, gee, this business is going to be worth, $8 billion. And I'm like, forget that, double that number next year, triple it the next year. That's what's going to happen here. So if you're in this room, you're involved in CBD, or you're thinking about getting involved in CBD, pull the trigger and do it. You will enjoy the profits and the benefits. So with that said, I don't know if anybody has any questions or... Yes, sir.
Very interesting prediction there, thank you. Why do you base that prediction? Why do you think it's going to be that big? Surely there's just a bubble, really.
Population. And the fact that the sort of the fastest growing consumer segment in THC land are people yours and my age. Why is that? Because we have more maladies than that young guy over there or that young woman over there. We're used and comfortable to walking into a drugstore, into Boots, into Sainsbury's, into Asda, and saying, oh, while I'm here, I'm going to get my meds, my over-the-counter meds. CBD is going to have that same presence, but there's a lot more, and because it's legal cross borders and transnationally, like we are doing business with our technology product in the UK and in the US. In the UK, obviously, with a CBD product. In the US with CBD and THC products. But more and more people are coming into this category. It's a consumer-led industry is what's happening. Not retailer, not brand-led, consumers. The same way internet consumption was consumer-led. There were more and more people coming, using the internet, creating websites of interest, et cetera, and that's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you're from the press or not? Because I was talking with a gentleman that was wearing a mustard sweater like you, and I noticed that he was from the press. I'm happy to give that prediction out, and I'm willing to wager $1 bob each for everybody in this room that's a correct assumption. Yes, ma'am.
Are the prices of all of these products going to start coming down a bit as everything gets going much more? And because that's the main thing I find, that people can't afford the products. Some
Yes.
people.
So here's what's going to happen. It's going to very much, I believe, follow the same trend lines as it happened in the States, right? So Colorado is ground zero for illegal cannabis, which means you could walk into any dispensary starting in 2015, as long as you're over 21, and you can start buying stuff that'll get you high. I don't care if it's flour, edibles, cookies, whatever it is. And edibles. And I noticed there was basically a variety of edibles that were really expensive, and there were others that were not. They were the price player. This is going to be like every other industry on the planet. There's going to be a price player, and yes, prices will come down here in the UK. But right now, it's if you've got a premium product, and I do say if, because don't forget about the idea of misdosing. Articles and news reports in the U.S. that talking specifically about CBD, and it's growing there phenomenally as well. This article in Forbes cited that 78% of CBD products in the U.S. contain no CBD. 11% were way underdosed. I'm not a mathematician, but that's a ridiculous number, and I believe it because I've seen it in the THC world, right? So, but that landscape has definitely improved. But as CBD, there's a lot of cowboys, there's a lot of some sketchy entrepreneurs. There are well-meaning entrepreneurs, but it's a learning experience. A learning experience on everybody's part. Whether you're a cultivator, whether you create formulas for a particular kind of CBD, whether you're packaging it into edibles, whether you're making a vape pen. These are all discrete sectors of a phenomenally growing industry. There are going to be misfires every single day. What we're doing with our technology as well as with our products is our CBD products, if they say it's got 1,500 milligrams worth of CBD in it, I guarantee you it has a C of A that says 1,500 milligrams. We believe in testing. In the US, it's very rigorous, the testing process with THC products, because it will get you high. And here in the UK, I know the Home Office and the FHS does boast that, well, we're a mighty regulatory industry. It's a learning curve for everybody, but my advice is, if you're creating a product, if you're growing, if you're extracting, whatever it is, you're involved in the supply chain part of the business, make good product. If you're a retailer, make sure you're working with trusted manufacturers and brands. If you're a technology company, or if you're providing bongs, make sure that they work. You will get a premium price. So getting back to Colorado, and I noticed that there was one particular brand that was selling 100 milligrams worth of THC for $25, which was really cheap in Colorado in 2016. I know this because I bought $500 worth of product at 3 different dispensaries. I shipped it home to New York, where I live, because we don't have adult use yet in New York. We will soon, but we don't have it. So I have to make UPS my drug vendor of choice, and I tested, or had people test, every single one of those products that I purchased on a personal level. I didn't send it to labs. I had real live humans test those products for consistency, for format, for media content, whatever it was. This brand, this $25 brand, that's about what it was worth, because every single tester of that product said, I didn't get all that high. It said it had 100 milligrams of 10 milligram units in it. I didn't get that high. So that company was sort of shortcutting whatever THC content it was infusing their particular products were. Actually, after that experience, I went and I met with the founders of that company because I wanted to see what they were doing. Here's what they were doing. They were sourcing their candies from an Eastern European country. They would then import into the US that same candy, and they would spray paint THC onto these products. Didn't sound very science oriented, and I could just vision, the guy, maybe the person was hopefully wearing a hairnet in the back of the garage, spraying, edibles with THC. It sounds like a dangerous combination. That's what they were doing. But they were boasting about it. That's how we keep product costs down. And we source our materials from Eastern Europe, and it's cheap as sin. Don't go that route. It's not worth it. It's only going to hurt the industry. CBD side, THC side.
Okay, you got time for just one last question then?
Thank you very much. You talked about misdosing,
Yes.
right? And you deal with topical products,
Yes.
nutritional supplements, all sorts of products.
Yes.
Now, there isn't much data about the effects, the realistic effects of CBD, right?
Yes.
But in your own personal experience, what is an effective concentration of CBD in topical or supplements? Because, I have a friend, for example, she has MS, and she's taking like a 10 milligram CBD capsule, but at the moment it's not helping. I understand everybody's different.
That's right.
But do you see a kind of a generic threshold for efficacy where you can see a difference for CBD? Thank you.
Really good question. So, traveling here to the U.S., I use balms and salves, but I also take oral products and edibles as well. But if I'm in an acute phase with my back, like I am right now, I'll typically apply a balm or a salve. In the States, if I'm in an acute phase, I do have a THC infused balm. And while cats in New York City love me because they think I'm a walking catnip farm, that for me is immediately efficacious. I would much rather take a THC infused product. Doesn't get me high, by the way. Doesn't bleed into my system. It's never happened. But I also use CBD if I'm in a less acute phase, because it's A, less expensive, and B, comes in lots of different product forms. The THC product that I actually use is made by a friend of mine in San Francisco, which is the real heart of cannabis and THC in America, where it's been medically legal for 20 years now. I only get his product. And by the way, I don't pay for it. He sends it to me because he knows I'm a big advocate of his product. That works. But CBD definitely does work. I mentioned I don't like to get high. I like to microdose. If somebody has a THC edible, I'll take a 2 milligram. 2 hours later, I'll take another 2 milligrams. Because I don't get high. I feel some effect. And from a THC-infused edible at 2 milligrams, I can get almost the same sensation from a 20 milligram CBD edible. I feel it just has the same sort of physical effect. When it comes to research, we all know about how the word marijuana got started in the US. It was started by, I gotta go? Okay, sorry about that. But I'm happy to talk to you. Come visit me at the Wellacy booth, and I can tell you about the personal effect and the entourage effect and all that good stuff.